All right, guys. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to 9 5 Escape. Hope you all are having a great start to your week this week. I certainly am. And I hope you guys are as well. If you're here with us, say hello and let me know where you're watching from. Let us know so we know that we're live here. I think we are. I think we're good. But I hope you guys are having a great week. And again, welcome to the group. Welcome to 9 5 Escape. If you're new to this group, if you haven't done so already, feel free after this live stream, go up to the announcements post and introduce yourself. Just let us know who you are, what you're about, and what you're hoping to learn from this group so that we can best serve you. If you're a regular in this group, then you know we come here live every Monday, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, to share what's working for us as we escaped or are escaping our 9 to 5s for online entrepreneurship. So really just sharing valuable information around what's working inside of our groups as we make that transition. So welcome, guys. Good to have you here again. If you're just joining us, say hello. Let us know where you're jumping in from, and we'll get started here today. We've got a really interesting topic here today, and that is the 4 rules of life that will change your view of everything. I am really excited to jump into this with you guys because something that I learned recently from Vishen Lakhiani that I'm excited to really share here. So just teeing up the call a little bit, guys. We're going to start off with just some coaching, some training here, talking about these 4 values really that will really help you identify, really uncover and solve the mystery of figuring yourself out. What are you going to do? What are you going to offer and serve to others, and also really help you tap into that bigger vision for yourself so that you can take the actions forward that you need to achieve those things. So super excited to share a little bit of that with you guys here today in part 1. And then part 2, I'm just gonna have an invitation for some of you guys here to see what it looks like to join us, join hands, lock arms, however you want to put it, in our programs and really accelerate the process for you so you can escape your 9 to 5 quicker without all of the questions and mystery around what goes on with online marketing. How do we do this? So we'll show you what that looks like. And if that's a good fit for you, then we can talk about that as well. So if you guys are ready to get started here, drop a vision down below in the comments and let me know that you're ready to jump in here. Drop a vision in the comments so we can get started here. And we're going to be talking about the 4 rules of life that change everything, change your view of everything. It's really interesting. I just sort of started recently following along with Vishen Lakhiani. If you guys aren't familiar with him, it's Vishen, like Vishen Lakhiani. He has some incredible trainings. He's the founder of a company called Mind Valley. A really incredible trainings around sort of elevating our mindsets, really stepping into leadership, just a lot of different things about growth, right? How do we grow as entrepreneurs, as people, in relationships, business, all different sorts of things. So if you're not familiar with him, definitely check out some of his stuff. It's really, really valuable. Just a great way to start your day. He's got so many different topics. But what I wanted to share today was really this idea of these 4 values, these core values that Vishen outlined as a training, but you will also be able to leave this call here today with the tools necessary to be able to go and create your sort of 4 core values as well, that are going to be sort of your roadmap forward. That's going to be your focus on where you're going to take your business and how you can get a little bit more clear around what you want to offer and the things that you'll talk about. And so there was an interesting concept that Vishen shared that he learned from a friend of his called Michael Beckwith. And I'm going to pull up on my screen here in a moment so that we can kind of just walk through this together. But I want to share with you the idea that Michael had. And it was this idea of how do we actually grow? There are two pathways to growth, let's say. One is called Kensho, and Kensho is growth through pain. We're probably, if you're familiar with that, raise your hand in the comments if you're familiar with growth through pain. My hand is still up because I certainly am. The other form of growth is Satori, and Satori is growth through insight. And so it seems like some of you are familiar with Michael Beckwith, of course. So growth through insight is a little bit different, right? And that's, as entrepreneurs, it's kind of like the journey that I think that we take. And so he said, if you accept the mental model that you're a soul having a human experience, and to make it fun, the soul sort of forgets that it's truly a soul, right? And it puts you in this playground called planet Earth. And every once in a while, it has to correct you. And so your soul is going to auto correct every once in a while in one or two ways. It's going to correct either in Kensho or Satori. So it's going to correct you by giving you pain so that you can grow through the pain, or it's going to correct you by giving you insight so that you can grow through insight. So ask yourself, the question really is simple: which is easier? Which would you rather? Which is a more comfortable way to grow? And I would definitely say that Satori is a more comfortable way to grow. So how do we actually go then and develop those moments it's so that we can grow through insight instead of pain? Because oftentimes, I mean, I don't really ever get asked like, hey, do you want to grow through pain or do you want to grow through insight today? It just kind of like falls on our plate unless we're intentional about it. And so that's what we're going to really talk about today. So cool. It looks like you guys are with me here so far. So growth through insight is Satori. It's introspection, it's meditation, listening to the heart, and intuition. And so it's like a growth through awakening. And so to understand how to actually better develop that, let me silence my phone. And again, you put your phone on do not disturb and somehow it still rings. But anyways, so to understand and to create more Satori moments, the best thing that we can do is really understand the culture scape. And those are the beliefs, the rituals, the ideas that help us make sense of a complex world. The thing is that there are often, some of these are useful and some of them are what Vishen calls rules, which is bullshit rules. And there's a lot of those as well. And those are what lead us in the wrong direction. They kind of stop us, they hold us back. And so let's see, an example of a rule might be that you should, go to school, then college, pick a degree, get a, 9-to-5 career, buy a house, have 2.5 kids, a car, the white picket fence, and the wife, and everything else, right? That's a rule that a lot of people live by. We all think that that's something that we're supposed to be, but not necessarily something that really aligns with us inside. And so he says that actually some of the most pain in life comes from us following rules. It's like, I thought about this for myself when I heard that the first time, and I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense, because when I was following that sort of direction, I thought I graduated, I got a great job, moving along the career path, all this stuff, that wasn't really making me happy. I just kind of thought that was what I was supposed to be doing. And like, that's life. This is what you do. That's how you'll become successful, quote unquote. And I realized that for me, at least personally, that was a rule that I wasn't willing to follow. And because I was following it, it was holding me back from what my true potential was to go out and serve people in this way. And so a good practice that you guys can start to get into to create more of those Satori moments is to ask yourself, how many bullshit rules can you get rid of every day? And just become aware of those things, that you're just doing them because that's the norm. I saw this funny meme recently where there was like 10 people in a swimming pool, and the water was all yellow. There's this circle of people around one guy in the center, and the guy in the center was in clean water, and there was like 10 people peeing in the water around him. They were all pointing and laughing at him. He became like the outcast because he wasn't the one peeing in the pool, right? And so sometimes we just follow these rules because we don't really consider that maybe it's not in alignment with ourselves, and being in that self-alignment is super important. So just ask yourself and practice, like, how many rules can I actually drop? So if you guys are with me, just drop a 1 down in the comments so I know that you guys are following along, if this is all making sense, because there's quite a bit here, but I'm just kind of just doing this glance over here today. We're not going to go super deep, but again, you're going to walk away with the tools that you need to be able to create these 4 values for yourself. So here's an interesting quote that I want you guys to consider. And I'm gonna read through this maybe once or twice, because the first few times you hear it might not really make a lot of sense, might not click. So when I run after what I want, my days are a furnace of distress and anxiety. But if I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me and without any pain. And from this, I understand what I want also wants me, is looking for me and attracting me. And there's a great secret in this for anyone who can grasp it. And that's a quote by Jalal al-Din Ruminator. And I think it's just, after I kind of thought about this more and more, I realized that there are days in my week. And if you guys have the same thing, let me know in the comments that you have this as well. But there are days in my week where I feel it's completely unproductive. And there are other days where I feel like I'm really in this sort of creative state where I can achieve whatever I need to achieve. If you guys have that, let me know. And if you also often lose your thoughts in the middle of speaking, let me know about that as well. So back to the quote. I'm just trying, I lost the quote here. So those days where you feel like you just aren't in tune, or even those moments like the one what I just had, you have to go back and really go back into your own patience and let it come back to you, right? Because when you're trying to come up with what to do, or come up with the next step, or come up with like, what is it I'm supposed to be doing right now? You're preoccupied by, you're not allowing your brain to actually you're not giving it the space that it needs to tell you what would actually be the best next step, right? And I noticed that the days that I was in that, let's call it that sort of flow state, were the days that I had more or less chosen to run my day the way that I wanted to, rather than thinking when I woke up, how should I, like, what do I need to do today? What do I have to accomplish today? What's on my schedule already? Instead, I was in this state of, let me do the things that I love doing, which ultimately is when I first decided to leave corporate America, my mission was to be able to do whatever I want to do whenever I want to do it. And so I realized that one of those things was built in for me was to get in my run every day, or right now it's a run, but exercise every day. And I noticed that during that period of running, it opens up so much space in my head for creativity and for those things to just flow in, the ideas, the next steps, all of those things that when I sit at my desk and I just kind of say, what is the next step? What do I need to do? That it doesn't come to me. And so it's when you're actually in your own space of patience that things flow into you. And it's so super true. So are you actually living in the value that you want to be creating? Because if not, then you might be missing opportunities that would be there otherwise. And so sometimes you get frustrated. You're sitting there like, some days I'm so flowy and other days I'm not. Why is that? Well, maybe it's just your own inner self saying you're not in alignment with yourself right now, with what you really want. So get out, go do your run, and then boom, it's going to click. And all of a sudden that creativity, everything that you needed is there for you because you found your flow. You're living in resonance with what you say you want to live in. I just think that's so now that I've kind of walked through that, I'm going to read it again. When I run after what I think I want, my days are a furnace of distress and anxiety. If I sit in my own place of patience, what I need flows to me and without any pain. From this, I understand that what I want also wants me, is looking for me and attracting me. There's a great secret in this for anyone who can grasp it. And something that I didn't really touch on is that when you live in that space, those things, they want to find you. They want to be attracted to you. And so it becomes so much easier for sort of the universe, if you will, to make that work for you. All right, guys. So I'm going to continue on here. But I just want to make that distinction is what do you think you want? Often it's what society has told us that we think we should want. And so, ultimately we have to decide what it is that we really internally desire and what we want. And the lesson here is really, instead of a lot of people say I have to do so that I can be, right? I have to do this so that I can be that, right? I have to do this and then I can be that. But really, if you can be that so that you can then do what it is you want, you're going to find so much more satisfaction and fulfillment, and also forward movement in that. So be so that you can do. Don't do so that you can be. Okay, guys, so we're getting here to the 4 values. If you guys are ready for the 4 values, drop a values down below. I know I often say value, but drop a values down below. Let me know that you're ready for the 4 values that that Vishen came up with for himself, and that you're also going to learn how to come up with for yourself as well, so that you can really implement that into your business and start going. So drop a values down below if you guys are ready to get into this here. Cool, values. All right, so the first, I'm going to actually read out the 4 values, and we're going to go through them one by one and go a little bit deeper into each of them. The first value that will really help you change the way that you look at the world is transformation. And the rule that Vishen outlined here is that your work is not about your work. When we're talking about transformation, rather, your work is nothing more than the greatest vehicle for your personal evolution. So perpetual growth should come before everything. I always love, people say entrepreneurship is the greatest, personal growth journey you'll ever face. I really believe that. I think that's a big part of why I really like what I do, is I love to see how I can push myself and what more I can learn about or discover or whatever. It's really just a never-ending growth experience. And if you can really step into that, that's how you're going to transform, is deciding that your work is not really about the work that you do, but it's really about your transformation as a person, becoming better, right? A lot of us in network marketing, we shoot for this goal of becoming a master in our business, and that takes a long practice of mastery. So it's really just about getting better. It's that personal growth journey. And once you can start looking at failure as a means of growth, then you will stop sort of feeling that failure kickback every time something goes wrong, right? I often refer to it as testing, rather than saying everything is this certain thing failed. Like, that test didn't work. What will work better? How can we change that to make it more effective? So being aware of the outcomes and then being willing to change your approach is what you really have to focus on, so that you can move forward. All right. So transformation, really, how do we make that transformation? I want to say that, personal growth often fails because we make it about the wrong thing. It's either about the outcome or the process, right? We're trying to grow personally. We're thinking, all right, how do I get this outcome? Or what do I have to do to get the outcome? What's the process? But ultimately, it really needs to come down to an identity shift. What is the identity that will give you the process and the outcome? And I think that's really a tough thing to tap into, because we often don't know our own identity, which is a really strange thing, right? It's hard to really determine exactly our identity. I think we're always changing as people, especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're constantly evolving. So that identity shifts, and you have to be able to, identify the identity while it's re-identifying. You guys get that. But here's a way that you can start to shift your own identity so that you can understand what the process is to lead you to the outcome. So focusing on identity is really going to lead you to the process and the outcome. So this is really about, you often will hear about affirmations, right? This is a little bit of a different twist on affirmations, and I'm finding that it's really, really effective because I'm implementing these things for my own life as well. I only share with you guys like what's working and what's working for me and other people that I work with. So here's what it is. It's asking yourself lofty questions is the best way to transform identity. And what do I mean by lofty questions? So after affirmations are something like, I make $100 million a year, right? But a lofty question would be, why am I running $100 million company? Yeah. Or why am I such a powerful learner? Why am I so fit and athletic? Why do I wake up every day deeply connected to my purpose? And what happens when you ask a lofty question like this is it gets your subconscious mind immediately engaged. And that's really what you want, because it starts thinking for you in the background. And when you can tap into that, that's when the opportunities start falling into place, almost kind of just all of a sudden you see things there that you might not have seen before. And that's because you're asking lofty questions and you're engaging your mind. So the first thing you do when you wake up, you ask yourself, why am I so stinking happy every day? Why do I love to serve people so much? Why do I love getting results for my clients? Change the way that you speak internally to really elevate that process for yourself. So ask lofty questions. I think it's just such a cool, useful tool. I would never had been approached with that idea in the past. It was always affirmations and write your affirmations as if they were already true or whatever, but really switching this, and just from my own personal studies of how the brain works, it makes a lot of sense. Um, so so that's how we can start to sort of shift identity is asking lofty questions. All right, let's move on here, guys, because so we talked about transformation. Now let's talk about a little bit about envisioning. Rule number 2 for envisioning is to dream big. And the reason for that is because when you dream big, the problems that come along seem small because you have something so much more important that you're focusing on. And so what you really want to ask yourself is, am I needing motivation in order to grow my business? Or do I have a vision so big that it's pulling me anyway? Because oftentimes I hear entrepreneurs talking about motivation. I need motivation. I want to give motivation. How do I get motivation? But ultimately, motivation means that you need that in order to have the desire to take the action. But if you have a vision that's so big to pulls you right along, that's where you found that you've really tapped into something powerful for yourself. So how do we actually start doing that? Well, to make these massive big goals, you also do have to start with smaller goals. And so that's what Vishen refers to as self-fueled goals. So simple that you can achieve them no matter what. So he gave the example of Elon Musk. When he first started out, somebody interviewed him and said, like, how do you go out and start SpaceX and Tesla and all in the mining, Boring Co. and like all these major companies? Like, aren't you afraid of what would happen if they don't work out? And his answer was that in college, he did an experiment. And he basically, what he did was he set out to figure out if he could survive on $1 a day. I guess he was living in student dorms at the time, so let's take that into consideration. But he was able to live on $1 a day. And so for him, he said, I knew that basic survival was guaranteed, or that I could guarantee it for myself if I lost everything. And so that allowed me to take massive risks because I really had nothing to lose. And if we can step into that for ourselves, then I think the possibilities for us are really limitless. And that takes, of course, it takes some practice and it takes intention because, a lot of us are, he did that while he's in college and maybe didn't really have much to lose, right? Most of us aren't going to want to go try to live on $1 a day just to see if what we've got here is working. Please don't do that. But it's a great example. And so when you have these self-fueled goals, it kind of gives you that ease of mind that says, I can go out and take this risk and I know that I'll be okay. And so some of the questions, of course, Vishen set these up as lofty questions, and they were as follows. So why am I always surrounded by love? Why am I always learning and growing? And why is the universe always unfolding for me in the most amazing ways? And those 3 questions are what allows him and many of the people that study with him to take big risks or make big and lofty goals, at least. So why am I surrounded by love is because ultimately, no matter what, without anything left, you can always create that within yourself. And I think that's really important to remember, but you can always create the feeling of love from within. Why am I always learning and growing? Because ultimately, even if you're, say you're homeless on the streets of New York, you still have the ability to walk into the public library, read a book, and gain knowledge and grow as a human. And why is the universe always unfolding for me in the most amazing ways? I think that's just a great, phrase to live by or question to ask yourself every day, but also because truly that's what's happening as we walk through our day to day. It's the universe is unfolding in front of us in ways that we could never predict or imagine, which is truly incredible. So if you have those things in the back of your mind saying, no matter what, I know that I can create love, that I can grow and I can learn, and that the world and the universe will continue to unfold in amazing ways, then I can go out and set really lofty goals. And I can be okay if I don't achieve them right away or at all, or whatever. And so he did give us a little quick example at the end about Google goals. Is what is the term Google goals, and basically Google has goals that say 50% or of sort of a mission statement. 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failure, and they implement that in Google. And so their failure rate at Google is about 40%. But what it allows for them is some big ideas, and people to not be afraid of speaking up because this might not work. What if it does though, right? And so 50% of your goals should have a 50% chance of failure. All right, guys, hope you're still with me. If you are, drop a unity down below because we're going to be talking about unity next as we kind of start to close up here. We'll go through unity and love, the final two values. And rule number 3 around unity was your life is not about you. So we started with your work is not about your work. Now your life is not about you. Rather, your life is about the lives of everyone you touch. I don't know if you guys can agree or associate with that. I sure can. I think a lot of what we do here in online marketing world, whether it's a product or coaching or courses that we're offering, I think we're often always providing unity for people. We're creating communities. We're a safe place for people to come and exchange ideas so that they can also grow. And so your life is not about you. It's really about the lives of everyone that you touch. And so if you can make your life about service, then you're going to find happiness, success, everything that you're looking for. So how do we actually do that? Well, we have to identify our North Star, is what Vishen calls it. And to do that, you want to really figure out what part of you is used to serve the world. And you don't have to know how to get it. You just have to know what part of you is like meant to go out and serve the world. So he used Elon Musk as an example here. It's just a pretty cool example because Elon Musk's North Star is to colonize Mars. Right. And so he doesn't talk about running a SpaceX or rocket company or how to get to Mars or anything like that. He talks about colonizing Mars. And that's why SpaceX for new engineers is one of the most intriguing companies to try to go out and work for, because he's talking about a greater mission, right? There are other companies that make rockets, but they're not talking about the mission to colonize Mars. It's a grandiose vision, right? And so if you can create that, he's creating unity around that, because that's something people can get around. It's not just about him. It's not about getting him to Mars so he can, build a house there. It's about colonizing, creating a community there. And so other people are willing to get on board with that and get behind him, because that's a mission. That's a big statement that includes a lot of people. So how do we do that for ourselves? It's really just identifying that North Star. One of the techniques that Vishen shared is really framing your life in the future tense of 10 years in the future. And so what he said was, when he started Mindvalley, he actually talked about, when people said, what do you do or what are you doing? He would talk about what he saw for Mindvalley in the next 10 years and what they would be doing in 10 years from then. And because of that vision, that was a lot of the things he was talking about didn't exist yet at that point. And so people were really intrigued. And he even said up front, he said, 50% of these things are never going to happen, right? Back to the Google rule. 50% of these things are never going to happen. And people still joined him, because what he was talking about was a greater vision that involved unity of the greater good. So remember to focus then on unity as well. What are you doing in your future? And really what he ended with was not trying to be inspirational, but to be inspired. People follow people that are inspired to do something greater, rather than those who are just trying to inspire them. All right, guys, as I round the corner here, we're going to touch on the last value, which is love. And the rule around love is we do our best work when we care for each other and when we are cared for. If you agree, just drop an agree down below. We do our best work when we care for each other and when we are cared for. It's very similar to going back to unity, because kindness is what really creates that unity. And that's something that we really need, I think, more of. He was saying, like, in corporate America, we think we're all fighting for the same thing, right? To top of the company or whatever that position is that we want or anything else. But he said, ultimately, what people are really fighting for is kindness. Whoever can be the most kind in corporate America is going to win. And that's a really interesting, I think if you start to think about it, I don't know if that's always true. I actually don't know if that's always true, but it's interesting to see how it actually does play out a lot of times. And he just really gave a couple of quotes that I thought were interesting. I'd like to start to close out with is that the first was, the wound is the place where the light enters. And so, some of people's biggest pains, some of the biggest struggles they've had, the most suffering that they've gone through is actually where you can be a light and where they can learn to grow. And so don't be afraid of that, and don't shy away from that, and share kindness with people that even have, had so much struggle, because oftentimes that's where you're going to be able to make the most impact, is being a light in that wound. Another thing that he said is your value. I just lost my quotes again. Suffering ceases to be suffering at the moment it finds a meaning. Right. And so meaning and purpose in our life is what's going to allow us to not suffer. I think I really believe that. I think progress is one of the keys to happiness. And if we can continually make progress, then we have happiness. We won't be suffering around that. And, really, guys, as we close here a little bit, I just really want you to ask a couple of questions for yourself. And what you can do here is, if you want to be able to break down these values for yourself, right? These are visions values. I think these are great values for all of us to live by. Transformation, envisioning, unity, and love certainly can bring us in the right direction, but we all are different. And so how can we go out and create this for ourselves so that it really connects with the people that we work with? So the first question I want you to ask yourself as you go out here after this call is, what are the things that I offer to the world? The first question is, what are the things that I offer to the world? And think about it, right? Just put 3 columns basically. First column, what do I offer to the world? And write everything that you can think of that you offer to the world. The second question or second column that you want to have is, what are the values and beliefs that most resonate with me? All right, what's important to you at the core? What values are really super important for you? What resonates with you internally that you're just not willing to waver from? Those most important core beliefs and values. And list everything that you can think of in that second column. And then in the third column, you're going to have a distillation column. And really what you're doing here is you're going through the second column of your values and beliefs, and you're assigning numbers to them. So anything that seems similar, put a number 1 by. If it's, let's say you have happiness and you have satisfaction, those are very similar, right? So put a 1 next to each of those, and try to create categories within your values and beliefs so that you can break them down into smaller categories, basically. And in that third column, the distillation column, you're going to write those distilled words down. And you should end up with 3 or 4 different words that are really core value beliefs for you. And that's where you can start to really break these down and start digging in a little bit deeper, like we did with visions values. How can we apply those to our business to get results for our clients, to get results for us, so that we can be in better alignment with the understanding of where we're going with ourselves? Because without the direction, it's so hard to know what's right. Is this the right thing? And that leads us to jumping from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, because you can try a couple of times with one, strategy. And if it doesn't work, you think that strategy doesn't work. But really, we need to identify these values first. It's the first step. Know who we are, and then we can share that with other people. So if you guys are getting value from this, drop a value below. I want to know that this was helpful to you and helps you really kind of dig a little bit deeper, uncover, what's going on up there. As I move into part 2 here, guys, I mentioned earlier on, I'd have an invitation for you. If you'd like to see what it looks like to work hand in hand inside of our programs, to walk through our curriculum together with one-on-one coaching, to really get the insights that you need to be able to accelerate your business forward at a quicker pace without all the questions and the mystery around how do we actually market online, then type I'm in the comments below, and I'll reach out to you. We'll set up a 15-minute call. We'll really take a look at what it looks like for your business specifically. Does it make sense for you to move forward? And if so, we will do that. But really, this is a process and a system in place for you to go step by step, from clarity to concept to creation, to really take either your side business or your passion project, a skill, a specialized skill that you have, to the next level. So you can scale that and escape your 9 to 5 effectively without getting lost in the process of the how-tos and the what-ifs and everything else. So if you want to see what that looks like for you and for your business, then drop an I'm in the comments below, and I'll reach out to you for a 15-minute call to see how that looks for you and if it makes sense. All right, guys, I am winding up here, but I hope you got a lot of value from this call here today. Of course, as always, if you'd like to see something specific in the coming weeks on these lives, drop it in the comments or shoot me a personal message. I always want to know what's going to be most valuable to you so that you can take action and get results in your business. That's the idea. We want everybody in this group to be able to get out of their 9 to 5 effectively, take that side gig and scale it. And never look back again. I'm telling you, it's totally worth it. Just got to commit yourself, take the steps, take the actions. And if you need help with that, let us know. We're here to support you in any way that we can. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll catch you next Monday, 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock Eastern, as usual, here at 9 to 5 Escape. All right, guys, have a good one. Cheers.